Tignanelli, Financial Consulate. This is our update of what we think is happening in the markets and also a financial planning topic that we'll discuss in a minute or two.
Drew, you know, the financial crisis has supposedly been over for a little while, right? 2008, 2009.
So they tell me.
So they say. And you know, we're part of the financial industry, whether we like it or not. But one of the things that people lost during the financial crisis was trust in the financial industry. Yet just within the last couple of weeks, we're seeing headlines again about a couple big-name firms who are getting in trouble because of trust or because of taking too much risk, in the case of J.P. Morgan or the Morgan Stanley issue with Facebook.
Yeah, it's you know, they keep claiming that they're getting their act together, and their government keeps saying, well, we've passed this legislation and we've passed that legislation, and you know, things are getting better, but these companies are all about the wrong thing, and that's why they should have gone under, in my opinion, in 2008. But we bailed them out. It's done, but the problem is that because you have allowed the rotten apples to stay and continue to rot,
and even thrive in some cases.
Even thrive. And this is the problem in Europe. You know, if you look at Europe, the whole problem with Europe is because they keep trying to keep the rotten apples, you know, healthy.
Yeah.
They're rotten.
It's tough.
You know, you can't do it.
Sure.
It's impossible. The banking system is a mess in Europe. The euro concept's a mess. Wall Street is not worth trusting, yet there's an amazing amount of people who keep their money with Wall Street because they feel that they have a relationship with the person they're working with. But that may sound good, as if that's going to override the overarching issue of the company that person works with, but it still causes problems, and you endanger yourself when you're working with people who have a economic bias, as we like to say.
Sure. Now, you mentioned Europe for a second. Let's just hit that very quickly, because this seems to be a persistent issue. When I look at our portfolio, I know a lot of folks think, hey, you know, I'd love to be more optimistic at this point in time. I'd love to be putting this negative market stuff behind us. But we see what's going on in Europe, and we really have to discipline ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I interviewed, you weren't there that day.
Yes,
this Wednesday night, I interviewed Stephen Kotler, who wrote the book Abundance.
Yes.
And it was about what I've always talked about is the next economic boom that's coming. It's a technology boom. We think technology was interesting in the past. Just wait until you see the future.
Sure.
And this book really lays out the future of technology in a great way. But if you go back into history and look in the Great Depression, out of the Great Depression came the airline industry, came the telephone industry, came the television industry, the auto industry, really boomed out of that. Out of the 1970s, the computer industry, the internet industry, all those things boomed out of the 1970s. So when you have an economic downturn like this, you expect a technological innovation revolution to take place. And I think it's coming. But you got to get through, as George Soros. I don't like George Soros much, but you know,
pretty smart dude, though.
He is a very smart dude, and he does say some things that you should listen to. And he said recently, this is an economic period of time that you don't try to be a hero in, you don't try to make a lot of money in, you just try to survive. And that's the thing that we keep trying to point out to our clients. Is keep your 401k safe. Just survive through this next period of time, because within maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 years at the most, you're going to have an opportunity to really invest where there's really, you know, the clear sailing. I guess that's a good way to say it. Clear sailing. Blue ocean, you know, that you can really just go and not worry about it. You can be more of a passive investor and go for growth and invest. But when you're in these bear markets, you need to be extremely cautious, and I believe that the last part of this bear market is going to be, well, yeah. We don't need to go too far about how far I think that this is. I mean, you know, anyway.
I understand. I know where you're headed.
It's not going to be. It's it needs to be cautious. Let's just put it that way.
So this crisis that we were talking about was precipitated in many ways by a housing crisis, right? And people were thinking that it's that kind of debt that is causing the problems that are holding us back as a nation, and also households and also companies. But in addition to that, we see news recently about student debt eclipsing $1 trillion for the first time. This is an important financial planning issue strategically for young people and their parents, isn't it?
Very much so, and you know, and there's what you said from the very beginning of your sentence, is that this was a housing crisis. Is the problem is that this was not a housing crisis, this is a debt crisis.
Sure.
This is a debt implosion. And the problem that worries me is that we've countered a debt implosion with debt. And we've coupled it into the government. You remember, you said student loans are skyrocketing, but remember, student loans is the government.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
Nobody would lend a student money unless the government said,
right.
I'm going to make good on it.
Sure.
You know? And so, but since 2009, the student loans have literally doubled. And they've gone up to over $1 trillion of student loan debt. And most of that student loan debt, I would bet, has no ability to be paid back. You know, because people are going and spending $50,000, $100,000 to get degrees in things that you're going to make a salary of $40,000, $50,000,
Yep.
and you just can't pay back. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who have massive amounts of student loan debt who can't pay it back, and they're
So
asking
the prescription is valuation, right?
The prescription is that parents need to protect, as you said in your NPR, you did a National Public Radio, right? Or was it television?
No, it was radio.
You have a face for television.
Thank
I
you.
have a face for
Thank
radio.
you. It was radio.
Anyway, you did it on NPR. It was about education.
And valuation.
And valuation, how, you know, parents have to protect their retirement first, and then figure out, if I'm going to spend money on my children's education, how much can I afford? And if they're going to encourage their child to take loans out, that they make sure those loans are commensurate with what potential earnings they can make.
Sure.
And, you know, the formula is that you shouldn't borrow any more than half of what you think you can earn.
Sure.
So if you can earn $50,000 a year on your degree, then $25,000 is about the most you should be considering borrowing.
That's a helpful parameter.
But you know, most people think I can borrow $100,000 because I'm going to get this great career. It doesn't work like that.
But you get to put the sticker on the back of your car for the college. That's worth something,
well, the
right?
parents do that. I don't know. I've never seen a student do that. Maybe they do.
Maybe.
But then again, Chuck's real proud that he's a Virginia Tech
You know those Hokies, they've
graduate.
got something going on there.
Right. So anyway, I think that you do have to be very careful about how you spend money on college. And undergraduate degrees, whether you go to Towson University, where we went, actually it was called Towson College when I was there.
Towson State when I was
College, Towson State University. Right. And then now it's Towson University. It doesn't matter. Or Princeton or Harvard for undergraduate degree. Economically, it doesn't really matter, you know? When you go to graduate school, that's when it starts to make a difference. Where you go to medical school, where you go to law school, where you get your MBA degree.
Sure.
That can make a difference still. But people spending $200,000, $300,000 send their children to these elite schools makes no economic sense. Anyway, this is the wrap-up for our May Client Alert. And if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call at 410-823-7283. This is Drew Tignanelli saying God bless.